So we all have seen and heard of different kinds of storage devices, like a hard disk, an SSD, or a SD card. But how is it that these all storage devices are available with various speeds and at different prices? And how do they work? Let's find out. A hard drive is the cheapest option available to store terabytes of data for years, but it is comparatively slower than an SSD. So how does a hard disk work? Inside of a hard disk, we have a disk, or a platter, which stores all the data. This disk is rotated by a DC motor at a high speed. Next, there is a head stack assembly with a slider and a read-write head. The rotating disk is divided into many cells, and the write head is able to store any data by changing the magnetic properties of each cell. This is done by applying a strong magnetic field generated by the write head. The read head is then able to detect the direction of magnetic field of each cell, and hence reads the data which is stored in the binary format, that is 1 and 0. Due to actual rotating parts in a hard disk, the speed is kinda slow. But in a SSD, or a solid-state drive, there are no rotating parts. In a SSD, data is stored in the binary form in small cells, arranged in a 3D structure. The most basic unit in SSD is called Charge Trap Flash Memory Cell. In each cell, we can store information by placing different levels of electrons onto a charge trap. We can imagine a SSD NAND flash as a 3D spreadsheet containing information in binary in the form of number of electrons in each cell. In a SSD, there is also a controller chip which tells where the data is. Since there are no moving parts, and each cell can keep storing the same number of electrons for decades. An SSD is much more faster and reliable than a hard disk. Now we all have heard about RAM. Now, what is RAM, and how is it different from what we just discussed? DRAM, or Dynamic Random Access Memory, unlike an SSD. RAM is volatile, meaning the information that's put in there disappears when the power is turned off, or when the computer is reset. RAM is what CPU uses to store the data before using it. The loading bar we see while opening a game is 3D models and textures getting transferred from your SSD to your RAM. Unlike SSD, RAM stores data in 2D array. All the available chips in the memory channel work in parallel, and hence it is super fast, but also requires more power. If you want to know more about RAM in detail, I recommend this video. Till then, thanks for watching.